Okay, and we're live. So welcome today, everybody, to the Ask a Security Guy Hangout. My name is Dante Cordova, filling in for Holly Magnuson. And today, Shawn will be going over internet privacy and demonstrating how easy it is to find information on someone on the internet by using both free and paid services. And he'll also go over some practical steps on how to reduce your online footprint. So looking forward to what Shawn has to say. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that we have the question and answer app on the right-hand side of the video feed, and you can go ahead and type in your questions there, and we'll collect those and go over those towards the end of the broadcast. If you have, give us a question there, or you can also put a question on the event page that you probably landed on. I'll be monitoring that as well. And other than that, I think we're good to go. I'll turn it over to Shawn.
Good morning. How are we doing today, Dante?
I am well. I'm a little nervous, but I'm doing well.
Not a problem at all. So this has come up in questions a number of times. People wonder, how do hackers get information on us? How do they find out enough information to answer security questions? How do they learn different things about you? Or how do people find out where you are, what you're doing, what you like? And the answer to that is there's an awful lot of information we put out ourselves on social media, on websites, on blogs. And a lot of times we do this without even realizing that the whole world's watching. So for today's exercise, I wanted to go through and show some different ways that we can collect information about a person and talk about some of the ways that information can be used. And then Holly has graciously agreed to be our victim for today.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
Yeah, well, especially since she's not here, so we can have all kinds of fun. And we'll take it from there.
Excellent.
So the first tool I really want to talk about is kind of painfully obvious, is Google. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here.
Cool.
And just a standard Google search. So if we do Holly, let's just do a straight Google search. Okay. So without just typing in her name, we've come up with several Hollys. We've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn, we've got another LinkedIn. There's two different Hollys here. We've got a link to support here at APU. We've got a Twitter account. We've got a Pinterest account. We've got something at Geneva College, Google+, YouTube, and there's several pages of results to choose from here. Okay, so let's say we want to dial in a little closer. So we know we're looking for Holly in California, right?
True.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this in quotes, and that'll restrict the search to a full match on Holly Magnuson. So what Google will do when we put the quotes around it, instead of searching individually for Holly and Magnuson individually plus together, now we're telling it only search for those two words together. Now, as you can see, that narrowed it down a little bit, but not much. There's still quite a few Holly Magnusons out there.
Sure.
So let's try plus California. And now we're getting closer. So now there's still one showing up, but you can see the number of results has gone down significantly.
Yeah, 2 pages.
Okay, and on the image search,
look at that.
We're coming up with this.
And it's Holly.
So, and that's Holly. All right, so let's go back to this. So now let's assume that we have this information and we've viewed her LinkedIn. And from her LinkedIn profile, we know that she's a computer training coordinator at APU. And then we know
where she works.
So now we know where she works. We know roughly her geographical area is going to be somewhere in Southern California.
Yep.
because if she works for APU, she's probably going to be within reasonable driving distance. So these are some of the assumptions that we can make and help dial in. So now that we know that, if we go over and we find her on Facebook, now I have her as a Facebook friend, so I'm going to see a lot more information than the public view. But this picture matches the Twitter account.
Yes.
Okay. So just with Google, a lot of you can usually dive in pretty close. A lot of people, if they have their address on their social media profiles or even their city, you can find out pretty close to where they live physically.
Yeah.
And finding out where somebody works is pretty easy because of LinkedIn and because of Facebook, and even Google Plus has a "Where have you worked" section.
Yeah.
So that's just a general open search tool, and just to give you an example of what that can do. Now, if we switch over to social media, I like I mentioned, Holly and I are friends on Facebook. So let's say we weren't.
Yeah.
And I just went into Facebook. Now, if I can see, because some people have their friends list public, what I can do is I can create a Facebook account with the same name as one of her friends.
Hmm.
And if one of her friends has, a profile that isn't locked down for privacy, it has a lot of publicly open stuff, I can download pictures and mimic language and and create a profile that looks a lot like a friend, and then start sending out friend requests.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So let's say Holly actually fell for that, because she won't, but let's say she did, and she friended this fake account. Now, on her Facebook, if I go to her about page, again, we see her work, and then we also see where she went to school. She studied here at APU and at Oklahoma Wesleyan. She lives in Covina. She was married May 28th, 1988.
Oh, wow.
Her birthday is March 21st.
Ooh, that's important.
We've got another account for her now, Holly Mag, on Google Talk, which means that's her personal Gmail. Even though right here it asks for Holly's email, this is a dead giveaway.
Right. Same thing.
The same thing. And then we've got her Facebook email account, which is okay. It doesn't have her phone number, but she's listed a number of other websites. So favorite Christian books, that tells me she's a reader. There's a My Bible 360.blogspot. She's a blogger. And gee, I wonder what information I can gather from these two sites as well as this one. So let's take a look at Magnuson House. And so favorite Christian books, photos. Looks like she's a photographer as well. So just to give you an idea, it's a relatively creepy amount of information you can gather about somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we dig into this, work in education. Okay, well, there's some more information about class of 1985 at Oklahoma. So she went to Oklahoma Wesleyan. I'm guessing she's from Oklahoma.
Yep.
Places she's lived. Well, she's only listed Covina. Contact and basic information. March 21st. Her religious views are Amish.
Really? Interesting. Good to know.
Which, if you know Holly, no. Family and relationships. Okay, so now we've got family members. Good.
Yeah, it says right there, huh? Son,
niece, sister, daughter.
Yeah. Okay.
Cousin.
So now you can start developing a profile, like, hey, calling on the phone maybe, or emailing her, hey, your son and your aunt, I'll have all this kind of information about you.
Exactly.
And make you believe that I know you and that I'm wanting information from you, and it's okay because it's safe. I know you.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Wow.
And then we'll go into details about Holly. Okay, now here she has another bit of information. So she grew up on an 80-acre farm 50 miles in northeast of Tulsa. So we
Tulsa,
were right. She
Oklahoma.
is from
Yep.
Oklahoma.
Yep.
And then in December 85, moved to Southern California. And let's see, now we know the birth dates of her boys.
E.
Now the birth years and months. And we can, and we even have the dog's name.
Ooh,
Now,
that's important.
so a pet's name is useful for what, Dante?
I would say useful for either a security question or a password.
Exactly. Exactly. A lot of people will use family names or pets' names in the development of a password.
And
Not
stop it,
only,
by the way.
hmm?
Stop doing that, by the way.
Exactly. Please stop doing that. Um, and then the other side of that too is some security questions are based around pet names. What was your first pet? What was your first dog? Et cetera.
Boom.
But they're pet related. So if you can find out pet information about somebody, that helps you in the password reset process if it involves answering security questions.
Yeah.
And that helps you in taking over somebody's account.
Yeah, that's
So, and
creepy.
then we have favorite quotes. Again, this is more information that can be used for password guessing and security question answers. Because now you're getting a deeper view into the person.
Yeah.
And then let's take a look at life events. Graduated from APU. Mark was born. Okay, nothing really new here. Oh, wait. First and last Rose Parade. That's new.
Hmm.
It's a new bit of information. So what we're doing here is we're developing a profile on a person. And the purpose for that is usually identity theft.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the end goal because you want to take over somebody's identity. And the more you know, the easier it is.
Yeah.
And social media, while it's been great to help us communicate with each other and keep in touch with each other across vast distances,
Yeah.
often allows us to and encourages us to expose way too much information about ourselves on the web and potentially publicly.
Right.
Now, Facebook, as much as I pick on them, they do have some great tools for locking down privacy to specific groups, and you don't have to answer the questions. So it's always better to just not put the information in there in the first place. If people know you, they know you. They're not going to need all this extra info.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's Facebook, and that's generally true of, you're going to find that similar stuff on Twitter, on Google Plus, on Instagram, on Pinterest. It gives you those extra bits of information about a person. Um, so, pick your poison on social media. It gives something away about you, who you are, where you are, what you do, what you like.
Yeah.
Bits of information about you that help someone else build a profile if that's what they're after.
And it seems like, especially, I mean, it's Facebook. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not active very much on it. But it seems like like the way everyone uses it, it's kind of by default. Yeah, friends of friends can see my stuff, and maybe even some public stuff is really easy to step into and not realize what you're actually putting out there. And it seems like a
Correct.
lot of people, even though they feel like they maybe hit some settings to say, yeah, I'm not divulging a lot of information. I'm also seeing that even still with not being their friends, or I'm just kind of creeping on someone else's Facebook page, I can still see a lot of photos and just different things that maybe they don't think I can see and that I can because I'm a friend of a friend.
Well, yeah, and even there we talk about, when we talk about photos, one of the things we think about is geotagging. Any picture taken with a smartphone will by default geotag the location it was taken. So if you can
Yeah.
download the original photo, you can figure out exactly where that picture was taken.
Yeah, and I think that's a concern too. When like if you're like trying to sell stuff on like on Craigslist or something like that, and you post a
Hmm.
picture, I, I'm assuming that metadata that has that geo tag information, which is basically the coordinates where you are at that time. Most of the time, it's at your house if you're selling
Right.
something on Craigslist, and now all of a sudden someone knows where you live.
Exactly. Exactly right. So, and then also be aware, the contents of a picture will give away the location sometimes. If you're taking a picture at Disneyland, it's pretty obvious where you are.
Right.
Um, so, so just some things to be careful about. There are times when for certain types of pictures, we want people to know where we were when we took the thing, and it's
Yeah.
okay. But other times you want to be a little more thoughtful about it, especially when you're posting pictures of your home and where you live.
Yeah. I think thoughtful is a great word right there. Just think about it before you just willy-nilly just put it up somewhere.
Right. And I don't want to come across and say you shouldn't ever do X, Y, and Z. It's, be thoughtful about how it could be used the wrong way.
Yeah.
What if this information was in, hands that you don't want it to be in, how could it be used?
Yeah.
So I've got a few more tools to show here.
Excellent. We have time. We have 15 minutes.
Yeah. So we have another one called Census Finder. This is a public free tool where you can get census information. It will also dig into people records. So if you bought a house, your name is out there, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And you can also do ancestry searches, which help again if you're building a family tree on someone, which is useful for identity theft because you can approach them as a long lost relative with some credibility.
Okay.
Um, there's another site, again, this is a very valid site. It's not a hacker site at all, called VitalRec. And this allows you to search for birth certificates, death certificates, marriage records, all kinds of things.
Really?
That information is publicly accessible.
So if you type my name in there right now, you'll see when I got married.
Possibly.
Let's do it.
We're going to use Holly. I don't want to use.
Oh, okay. Use Holly.
And it's going to ask us to become a member for this. But you can see we've got 4 records found. That's probably an original that's scanned in through Ancestry.com.
Sure.
And that will give, chances are, a social.
That's crazy. So if I pay these guys a couple bucks, I can see all
Uh-huh.
that information.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Worth it for a criminal?
And we'll get into this when we get into the paid services. You can run a full background check on somebody for less than $10.
Wow, that's not bad. One
Yeah.
time, or as many people as you like.
It depends on the service. Some will charge you a monthly fee. Some will charge you per person. It depends on the service and the package you get.
Okay.
So another tool is Zabasearch, and this will allow you to do people searches by name, or you can do reverse searches by phone number.
Oh, interesting.
So if you just have a phone number for somebody, you can search for it this way.
Like cell phone or landline, or does it
Like a
does
cell
not
phone.
matter? Okay.
It'll do cell phone and landline. I don't know. Let's try 909 234. Nah. Uh, we'll do that another time. Not sure which number I want to use. Alrighty. So that's that one. And so, again, that allows you to do forward and reverse searches. So the idea is you could search by name, or if you don't have a name, you could search by number. That is really useful. For instance, if you're looking at a cell phone bill and you have a bunch of numbers that you don't recognize there, you can start looking them up and seeing where they originate from.
Okay. That's good to know too.
This is another neat website that I just came across recently. Find a Grave. And in there, yeah, you can find, this is helpful for finding ancestors, and the idea behind finding ancestors. You know how we talk about in our security awareness classes of stealing the dead's identities?
Yeah.
This is a tool for that purpose. Now, most people would not think of using this tool for identity theft.
Right.
But it can be used that way.
Jeez.
So you've got internment.net, Arlington National Cemetery, National Cemeteries. There's a bunch of sites out there that help you with that type of search. And Find a Grave is probably the biggest one.
Wow.
Um, and again, you can start digging into personal information about someone. Ancestry.com is actually a great place because they'll have all kinds of records about you as a person and your ancestors. And you can start digging into that information as well.
Okay.
So, and then here's another one, deathindexes.com. It allows you, it's again primarily used for genealogy, but anything that can be used for a good purpose can be twisted to use for something else.
Hmm.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. This is an open source tool. This is I guess for sake of simplicity, we'll call this a hacker tool. It's not really that, but in information security, we use Maltego and tools like it a lot for doing information gathering on institutions, companies, small businesses. The neat thing about Maltego is it can do the same function on people. So,
Okay.
and one of the things it does is it develops a map of interconnections. So if you take Maltego and you plug in a screen name to some social media site, or you have an email address, Maltego will go out and search and it will find anywhere that email address is used to register or log in somewhere. And it will start developing this profile of all the different places on the web where this person has registered that screen name or that email address. And you can do searches by name, you can do searches by email address, you can do searches by screen name on a particular kind of website, and it will go out and it will crawl and find every place where that appears. And again,
I can see where that's useful for someone trying to get into places.
yeah. So when we're doing it from a company perspective, it's huge because it gives us so much information about a company that allows us then, if we're trying to break in, it gives us the information we need to do so effectively. From a person perspective, it can be used for a very different purpose, which is to find out a lot of information about you
Yeah.
and to show your online footprint.
So
Yeah,
positive and negative uses for this tool.
exactly, exactly. So that's an example of an open source tool. That's one of the better known ones out there. There are others. And we had talked also about some of the paid tools. Intellus has a reverse phone lookup and a people search. Intellus can be used for a full-on background check and criminal records, reverse lookup. And this one's cheap. They're offering a deal right now, 7 days for $7,
I'm in right now for that.
unlimited searches.
Whoa.
And the amount of data it will pull on a person is disturbing, to say the least.
Okay. Maybe we should buy it together and we can see what comes up for you and I.
Yeah. Another example of this is Spokio. And Spokio, we sent out email instructions a while back. Spokio has an opt-out feature where you can go in and remove yourself from their search results.
Okay.
Intellus does as well. Um, so even with using that, there are so many of these paid sites that do deep investigation. It'd be tough to get out of all of them.
Right. I was going to say, I mean, there's probably hundreds of these things.
There are. So that's the information gathering side. There are two sites I want to highlight for the protection side. One is called Leo Web Protect,
Huh.
and this is specifically for people in law enforcement. And what Leo Web Protect specializes in is removing a person's online footprint. As you can imagine, people in law enforcement have lots of fans
Yep.
with
They do.
less than stellar intentions,
Especially these days.
especially these days. So, I mean, the law enforcement people and their families themselves are both at risk.
Yeah.
Leo Web Protect helps dramatically reduce that footprint so that they uh, they can have some sense of safety because That's something you want, especially for people who put their lives on the line to protect others.
Okay.
For the rest of us, for those not in law enforcement, there's a tool called LifeLock, and there are several others like LifeLock that do a very good job. LifeLock doesn't so much reduce your online presence as it monitors your online presence and tells you if somebody's poking around too much.
Okay. Was that always
So
the case, or is that a new feature of them? Because I know they've been around for a while, and then they kind of went away, and then they're back again.
no, they're back and they're quite strong.
Okay.
Um, so and again, they specialize in monitoring and alerting you to any activity on your presence online.
So this is different than a credit card monitoring thing. This is
It is primarily a credit monitoring, but it takes it further
okay.
if you
So
let it.
you get both. You get credit card money and you get
Hmm.
identity.
Identity monitoring.
Got it.
So those are some of the tools that that we use in information security. Some of the different ways we look at information gathering. And the idea today was to really give people an awareness of how information can be used for other purposes. And
Yeah.
these are the kinds of things we encourage people. And it's one of the reasons why I talk so much about reducing the amount of information you put out there online, and to be very thoughtful about how you say what you say on your posts, what you post publicly, monitoring who your friends are on social media. Um, because in a lot of cases, I mean, your security on a social media site is really only as good as your friends.
Ha. And
So,
those friends are not necessarily your friends. I mean, you have people that are, acquaintances or distance acquaintances
yeah,
you're calling your friends and they have their settings set up a certain way. And so it's kind of exponential and it kind of gets out of hand real quick.
it does. It does. And, the security, you may have great security practices for your personal security, but you may have someone else who has none.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time, where you have people who have great practices paired up with people who don't, and it's an avenue to get in from the side. So,
Wow.
and I've talked way too much this time around. Do we have any questions?
We do. We have a few. I'll just go down the list. One question is that the same as Ideal ID Shield offered by Legal Shield?
ID Shield I've heard of but not played with directly, but my understanding is it's very similar. It's an online identity protection tool.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that question. Another question when we were looking up at reverse telephone lookup, phone number lookup, this guy says, "Can I look up those annoying telemarketer calls with Zuba? Do you know the ones that come from all over the country?"
You can Google them. You can use the reverse phone lookup on Zaba Search and on Intellis. Both. The reverse phone lookup is free, so it'll give you some information about who's calling you.
Okay. Is there by chance an app like a phone app? 'Cause I know a lot of people use their cell phones as their primary phone. So I'm wondering if there's some type of integration right there that you know of.
There probably is. I haven't played with it yet.
Okay. Maybe do a Google search on that later.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you very much for that one. We have a few. Next one is, can you post a list of the services slash websites that you mentioned today? Yes, we absolutely can. That'll be in the
Yes.
show notes
Yep.
when that comes out probably later this week. So
Absolutely.
definitely. All righty, next one. Let me call that one done.
Is
Um,
there?
is there another way to block the schools from these searches? Is there no way to block the socials from these searches?
Ancestry.com has, I believe, started masking that field in the scanned in images.
Nice,
But
thank you.
anywhere that there are scanned in images, and a lot of the ancestry sites do this, where they have scanned documents, those fields may appear. So, again, doing a search on yourself is a great way of understanding what's out there and who can see what about you.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you for that question. Get that one done. We have a few more. For the Zap search, does it have to be a current number?
Um, I believe it does because they're looking for existing records.
Okay.
So I don't think you're going to get much from a history perspective.
Okay.
But I've never tried using an old phone number, so
Okay.
that's a guess on my part.
Last two, one of them was, have you ever used Spokeo before? And I know that we mentioned it a little bit during this
Hmm.
time, so I'm
Yes,
assuming you
I have
recommend
used
it.
Spokeo for testing purposes.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much for that. And lastly was just a little comment, not a question. It says thank you for pointing out how easy it is for attackers to social engineer their way in to get more information. So that's a nice
Absolutely.
little
That's
props
what
for
the
us.
show today was to really illustrate how easy this can be.
Yeah.
And but and as easy as it is, it's really easy to short circuit it by just limiting the amount of information you put out there.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
mean,
like you said earlier, just be thoughtful about what you're doing,
yeah,
and maybe you'll talk yourself out of half the things you do.
yeah, yeah. So when you think about your Facebook profile, um, for instance, just be think why do you need to post where you worked? Why do you need to post where you went to school?
Yeah.
Chances are those who know you already know that. So, but Facebook is insistent on asking you that, hey, you need to fill this out. Hey, complete your profile. Hey, do this. Hey, do that.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, and they nag on it.
Yeah.
So, again, you don't need to answer that question. And really, the less information you put out online, the better.
Because there's already plenty. So let's stop it.
So,
We have one last thing, and then we're going to sign off because we're over time. Sean's Facebook says he listens to Celine Dion. What's your favorite song? Is that
well,
true,
there's a
or is
difference
that
between
just
listens to and has listened to.
so? We already
And,
know a little bit about you then.
well, my musical tastes are all over the place.
Excellent. Well, Sean, thank you for taking the time. Thank you, everybody else
Absolutely.
that watched. We had a lot of viewers today, so thank you guys for your time. I hope this was really informative. I know it was for me. Um, our next hangout with IMT is going to be Wednesday, June 17th at 2 p.m. Holly and I will be going over some cool stuff, and we do good things. So check that out and look for an email getting sent out by the IMT support desk when you can click that link and put it on your calendar. Other than that, guys, thank you again so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and see you later.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.